Okay, brilliant. Thank you for your time that you're here. I promise it will not be wasted. Well, hopefully you learned something new today that you haven't heard before. Just a couple of sentences about me. I'm a personal trainer at Fitness First, just around here, around the corner on Baker Street. Who's at? Does someone go there? One, two, brilliant. I'm actually from Germany. I studied at Sports University a couple of years ago and had my own gym over there. I trained since 17 years. I've been involved in training people one-to-one in groups and so on. And more recently, I come from more of the athletic sort of background, but just recently, like 3 or 4 years ago, I started focusing a bit more on the demographic of having problems with their body, more or less. Let's say back pain or obesity, because these are two major things which are creeping up in our society just by the way of how we live life. And obviously the workshop is about lower back pain. Does anyone have had that before in the past or right now? Yeah. And that's pretty common because it's a stat I'm going to take right now. It's in the presentation. 4 out of 5 or 80% of people will at one point in their life have lower back pain, which is pretty shocking actually. But, before we go there, I've got like a little, just hand that around. It's just an outline of all the sheets because you might not be able to see them all. Just send them out. Got everyone on. And awesome. Yeah, brilliant. You can put them back on the floor. I just want to hand them out that if for whatever reason you can't see anything here, just grab them as like a little sneak peek. Okay, so let's get started. Content today is going to be about what is lower back pain. What does that mean? Then we're going to have a little posture assessment for you guys to see where I'm at. Then this is something we're not going to focus too much on, but I want to mention it, is optimal desk space and chair alignment. The other one is going to be movement rest, sleep insomnia, stress, and then at the end I'm going to give you some tips who you could see if you do have back pain. Okay, so generally speaking, this is like a normal definition out of a textbook, which I'm not going to repeat now, but what it sort of means is you've got your costal margin, which goes down here on your rib cage, and from the bottom bit down to the lower fold of your buttocks. Sort of that's the area where lower back pain is sort of specified. And it can start from up here or here and then downwards. Now, I just took the fact already. It's just there that 80% of people at one point in their life will have lower back pain. Posture assessment, therefore, just stand up. And all I want you to do is just on the floor, just walk, lift your knees a little bit, shake your arms out, and let them go and just stand. And just don't move anymore. Good. Just freeze in that position. I'm going to talk a little bit about it, and while I talk about it, you observe yourself. And that is, I just want you to spot down onto your feet and see how they stand. Are they pointing forwards? Are they kind of outwards rotated? Or are they, inwards rotated? Just see. It might also be that one foot points out and the other one puts in. So, let's see. Well, it looks all pretty good. The other one, I'm going to talk about what it means in a second. Just notice how you're standing. The other one is your arms. So look at your thumb. Is that kind of inwards rotated a little bit? Or even outwards rotated, or just hanging on the side neutrally? Sort of. Yeah, okay. Everyone knows kind of how they, okay, brilliant. Just sit down. I'll talk you through it a little bit. So why is that important? Because our hip is sort of the middle of the body. And the hip, if it has a torsion or if it's tilted forward or backward, it's kind of obvious it has an impact on your lower body, on your lower back. But attached to the hip are your legs and your torso. And so let's think of our legs first. When they're outwards rotated, so when they're pointing outwards, all that means is that your butt or your glute and the outwards rotators, they're really tight, they're really strong, they're pulling your leg outwards. And if that happens at the same time, mostly it also pulls your pelvis backwards, which puts a little bit of a strain on your lower back. all that means what we can do is, what you need to be focused on is stretching that area out. For example, you turn to the side, so you twist and actually get a stretch here. Or more dynamically, something like this, you step to the side and you kind of give that a twist so that stretches. Or you lie on the floor, and you've seen that sometimes in the gym when people stretch on the floor. The other one, more interestingly, is how are our hands aligned. Now, when they're pointing forward, all that means is that, who's working at a desk of you? All of you. How long in the day? Sort of? All day? All hours? 8 hours? Okay, so that's sort of, when you think about it, and you work on a keyboard as well. So what you do is your hands are lying flat, more like this, on the keyboard. So your arms are already inward rotated for 8 hours a day. So would not be surprised if your hands, when they hang down, be like this all of a sudden. So they're normally like that. When you see it from the side, what happens is with my back, kind of in this little position, this might be over-exaggerated for some not. You've got this hunchback position because your chest is contracted as well when you're in this position. And what you want to do in that position is you compensate sometimes with your head pulling it backwards. That puts a strain into your neck. And then if you've got outwards rotated feet at the same time, you've got a really sort of funny position you're standing in. You might not notice, but all of these little things are indicators of how that might lead to lower back pain. Now, I'm going to talk in a couple of slides of how you can counteract that. It's just something you can, if you keep on doing what you're doing, and you might go to the gym and you might see professionals later on, this is just something you can do by yourself to just notice when you're walking. How am I walking? Am I walking like, outwards rotated? How are my arms swinging? Just to be a bit more aware. I just want you today to think about it when you're walking. What am I doing with my arms? Or when I'm at the desk, how am I actually holding my arms? Just to give it a bit more awareness. Now we come to the optimal desk setup. Did you have that before in here? Has someone come in and told you how to sit properly at a desk? No? That's fine. That's why I'm here today. So, generally speaking, let's take the chair as an example. Optimum position would be that if you sit on a chair, that your feet, this chair would be too small for me, because what we want is that our feet are kind of normal on the floor. We've got 90 degrees in our knee joint and the hip. One of the major factors, the most important thing, is that our back is supported. So sometimes, I don't know, have you got like back supported chairs? Or, yeah, you've got those where they have a little curve in the back? Because that's why I put a picture of the spine up, because our spine has like a double S form, and there's a reason for it. It's like a little buffer. It works as a buffer. And so every sort of disalignment leads to uncomfort. And therefore, one of the major issues is that if we're in this grounded back position, like for example sitting like this all day, and you sit at a desk, it might not be optimum, because our optimum neutral spine would be more like this. Therefore, a support in the back is pretty important. Next thing to watch out for is where are my arms, or where's the monitor? Your monitor should be sort of an arm length away. That's where the screen should be. And the screen should sort of be on your normal eye height. So if it's higher, you might strain your neck because you're looking up all the time. And it also should not be too low. So it's just when you're sitting, just in a normal position, you should be able to see the screen. The next thing is with your arms and the wrists. How should that be set up? Now generally, again here, when your wrists are too high and you put your arms on it, you will see that my shoulder will be elevated upwards, which is also not good because you're contracting this muscle and it's not in a normal position. So the arms should be sort of in a, that might be 30 degrees angle, lie here, and that's where your keyboard should be. Now I took 3 mini checklists, which is the telephone, the mouse, and the document holder. So, don't know. Who's using a telephone a lot in work? You've got headphones? Or do you actually use the normal telephone still? Some might know that when they put their phone in here and start writing like that. Do you do that? Do some of you do that? Okay. So while we do that, what happens, right? We're kind of in a very funny position and contracting here on the side. So if we do that all day, it's a very funny movement for your neck to be in that position. So that's why I said if you do use the phone a lot, ask for a headphone or a headset. That might be better. Now the position of the mouse is also, I've seen that a lot when they've got everything set up properly, also with their keyboard, but then the mouse is over there. So they reach, click, 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 back to the keyboard, mouse over there. So when I do that all the time, I'm going also in a very sort of funny position with my arm. I need to protract my shoulder to reach that. Make sure it's next to you, nice and easy to reach, not too far away. Document holder, what does that mean? If you do need to type something into the PC, you need to keep looking on a piece of paper, put it sort of in between you and the monitor and the keyboard. So you've got the keyboard, you've got a document holder, and then you've got the screen. So you just need to glance down and can kind of write, because if it's over there, what am I doing? I'm twisting my head all the time. Or maybe if you do 10-finger writing, you don't need to, you're just like that. These are a couple of tips to watch out for. Now, if you do have a chair which is too high for you, you might need to get like a footrest or something, that your feet are elevated. Because as soon as they hang down, what happens is it also then pulls our pelvis to the front, which is not going to be nice for your lower back. Any questions there?
What sometimes people, I do this push-up feet in
yeah. The thing is with that, it's your body telling you, I'm not really comfortable how I sit. So what we try to do, generally speaking, is when we move around, it's not a bad thing, and movement is something we're coming to right now. And that is actually that even if we have the best optimal position to sit in, our body's not designed to be maintaining that position over a long period of time. So we should be sort of every hour getting up, walking around, doing something. And it doesn't really matter. It could be getting your coffee. If you need to talk to a colleague, instead of calling them on the phone, just walk over and have that chat. Or if you do your lot on the phone, do the phone calls and walk around. Just little things. That's why I say walk, walk, walk. Because also when you're in this position, you're sitting all day, what happens is your blood is not flowing on an optimum level, because your heart rate is down, you're sitting, you're relaxed. So the actual muscle which needs to be having the blood flow is not getting any. Therefore, walk, walk, walk. That's the movement you can do more or less in the office. Don't expect you to do now a full workout here in the office, right? Now the stretching, and this is specifically for, there's this thing out there called Deskercise or something, where someone came up with an idea of, let's do this now in the office, and well, it's not really going to work. You're going to forget it after 2 seconds, or you're like, yeah, who's going to do that? So in the end, I just want you to think about something. When you're sitting on your chair, you're writing here, we already identified, okay, we're sitting like this all the time. So what can we do to exactly counteract that movement? Just think of your thumbs. They're pointing inwards. We're going to point them outwards and pull them up to the back. That way we stretch out our shoulder and we go into this kind of position. It's exactly the opposite movement of what we're doing when we're here. We open it up and we stretch backwards. That's a really nice stretch to do. Just to do that a couple of times a day if you feel like you need that. The other one, who's done that? Stood up and have done this? Like, I've been sitting all day. Who's done that before? Most of you, right? So this is the funny thing. We do these stretches because it feels good. Our body is telling us more or less what should we be doing. So just listen to your body, and if you need to do this stretch, then do it. Stand up and press it to the back. It's a really nice thing to do because it's telling you it needs it. Now, when you think about our body and our spine, we cannot just flex and hyperextend. What we also can do, we can lateral flexion to the side, and we can also rotate. So sometimes when you're on the chair, what might be a nice thing to do is this kind of thing. You turn to the side, and you go to the other side. If that feels natural, and if that feels like this is something I need to do, then do it. Right? There's no need to not do it. just think about what movements am I not doing when I'm sitting. Just do them. Okay, next up is sleep. Generally speaking, what positions of sleep do we have? What do you think?
Fetus position.
Fetus position. What else? On your back? On the front. Awesome. And that's also the exact sort of range, yeah, of how we normally would sleep. Fetus is the most slept position in, so to speak. So most of us sleep in that position. I think it's 55 or 60% of us like sleeping in that position. And the reason why, if you remembered the slide before where I showed you the spine, when you lie on the side, your spine is sort of in this neutral position. It's really nice. But there are a couple of things we need to watch out for. And that is, if your pillow might be too hard or too high, you've got, again, this thing like the phone, remember? So when you're lying on the side and your head is elevated, you might get a bit of a strain in the neck, and you wake up in the morning and think, oh my God, I think I've got a headache or something. And now, what happens in the lower back, if your mattress is a bit firm or too soft, is that your lumbar spine, the lower bit, hangs a bit through. And therefore, in this sort of movement, I get out of line. That's why you can put like one of these cushions underneath here while you sleep on the side. And that's really nice. Now, one last thing to mention, as I said, that your hip has attached two legs to it. So when your leg is pulling down, that puts some strain onto your side as well. Therefore, you can use a pillow just between your legs. You might have heard of that somewhere. When you lie on the side, put a pillow between your legs, and that sort of eases some back pain already just by doing that. Who sleeps like this? Yeah, most of you guys. Okay. Next one, sleeping on your back. 30% of us do that. Now, again, to watch out is your pillow. I know everyone loves their pillow, right? But sometimes it's good to think about, is that something... There are these double-waved pillows, and the reason why is because we've got this little curve in our neck, which is supported by lying on that. But that said, I tried them, and it's something you need to get used to. It's not like I just put it in the bed, now I'm going to sleep like a baby. It's not really like that, because it's something we're not used to. So again, this is something, if you do try that out, you'll see you might first of all struggle a bit, but it's actually better. Now, let's look at the lower back again. When you're lying flat on your back, it pushes your spine to the floor, to the ground, to the bed, and flattens your back out, which is counterproductive to your natural curve in the back. Therefore, there are two things you can do. One is put a cushion under here, just like sitting on the chair, but that might be something that, that's something you definitely need to get used to when you sleep. But we've got also mattresses which have this inbuilt already. And another one is to put a pillow under your knees. What that does, it elevates your leg into a position, because when your legs are falling down, means your pelvis is moving forward and therefore also putting pressure on your lower back. That's why sometimes the doctor says if you sleep there, put a pillow under your legs. Right. And why is there insomnia? Because obviously every time you feel some sort of pain you can't sleep, and that leads to being awake, which is insomnia. Now this is the one where most health practitioners tell you should not be sleeping on your stomach, because it's the worst position to be in. Why is that? Because especially when you look at your neck, it needs to be turned to one side. You're not going to face down into your pillow, not too long. Right? But now again, this is kind of causing discomfort in your neck area, which can lead to headaches and stuff. But then also, we're talking about lower back today. Every sort of movement which is causing discomfort in the spine area, your body will try to compensate that in any sort of way. And which can lead, sometimes you feel pain here and that leads up to you feel it sometimes here. It's because we're somehow all connected, and nerves are, especially in your spine, you've got so much nerves going through. And so again here, to counteract that your your spine, when you're lying on your stomach, that the spine is pressing to the floor. You elevate your hip a little bit, and automatically you get your nice little double S form again. I actually like sleeping like that. I don't know why it's not so healthy. Okay, stress. Who knows what stress is? Who's stressed right now? Okay. What would you say does stress mean to you guys? When you think about stress, what does that mean?
Yeah, the body tenses up in stress.
Body tenses up.
Yeah.
And what else? When you think about the word stress, what does that mean to you?
That's unpleasant.
Unpleasant, absolutely.
You don't have to know.
And if you would think of another word, if someone says to you, okay, what does stress mean? You need to explain it to a child. What other word would you say to the child for stress? Anxiety. Another one? Any other thing? There's no right or wrong. And that's the funny thing with stress. You know, we all say we're stressed. We're this and that. The thing is that stress is not an emotion. It's sort of a symptom. And a lot of emotions are linked to stress. Could be anxiety, could be depression, could be pain, could be loads of things people are feeling when they're stressed. Now, how does that relate to back pain? This cycle is called the pain cycle. And obviously, it starts with the pain in the lower back or somewhere in your body, right? And you're like, oh my God, I feel this pain. What happens then? The next thing, it limits your daily activity somehow because you think, you know, it's pain. I'm kind of, you know, I don't want to move anymore. And because of the limitation, now you're scared of it. Now you're scared of, I shouldn't be moving because it hurts. What do you do then? You ask friends for advice. You say, well, you know, I've got this thing in here. What do you think? Yeah, I heard my doc said that, or yeah, put some ice pack on it, or hot or cold, or take this pill, right? They give you some sort of advice. But most of the time what they say is, don't move. Just stay like you are. Don't do any exercise. That's really bad. Now what happens now? After we've got that advice and you think, okay, that kind of is what I thought before because I'm scared of moving. Now what happens, because you're getting more inactive, something called physical deconditioning, which means your muscles are getting weaker. Because when you think about it, if it's like with everything, if you don't use it, it's going to go. So with brain power, same thing. You know, math in school, you've done all that stuff, you probably don't know it anymore. Same thing with your muscles around a joint. If they're not been used, they say, well, why am I here? So they go. And that's actually a bad thing because that increases your pain. And so this is like a vicious cycle going on and on and on. And therefore, that's why one of the things I'm always pointing out, obviously I'm an exercise professional, I say, well, you need to be exercising, but there's a reason for it to keep it up. But now, stress is related to, or what I've found a lot when I work with people who have lower back pain is they are perfectly fine to move, but they're just the hell scared. They're taking it too easy. That's the thing. They're like, they're standing in front of me like this and they say, I can't move. I can't do anything. I said, okay. And then the same person tells me, I was playing tennis the other day. I was like, oh, really? So how did you play tennis? Can you show me your serve? Oh, yeah, I did this. And then they move like really nicely. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So the thing is then, if they think about their pain in the back, something cramps up, then they're scared. But something they do like to do, all of a sudden, like playing tennis, it works. So it's kind of a mind game. And now we come to what does stress do in your body? So when you're stressed, have you heard of cortisol? Does anyone know what cortisol is? No. It's referred to as the stress hormone, meaning that when you're stressed, you know, you're facing some sort of stressful situation, your body releases cortisol, which releases energy in your body in terms of fat that you're able to fight or flight. That's this sort of, you know, the analogy comes from the tiger which you're facing. You've got two options, either you fight the tiger or you run away. And to be able to do that, your body releases cortisol, that you've got the energy, because you might be sleeping but the tiger is there. All of a sudden you're fully alert and ready to go. That's what happens in a stressful situation. Now, in former times it was either the tiger ate you, right? You killed it, or you ran away. So the situation was over with very quick. But nowadays, with stress, it's not like that. Stress is something, it's an ongoing sort of thing. And the baseline of stress is getting higher and higher, meaning our body is constantly chucking out this energy, which we could be using, but we're not using. And what that leads to is called muscle spasm, which means that the muscle around a joint kind of cramps up. You know, when you're tense because you're anxious, you're whatever you are, limits your range of motion. So it's just more or less a protective sort of reflex of your body doing that. It's nothing bad, it's something it does anyway. But for you, it's counterproductive with lower back pain because you're sitting, now you're in a sitting position, now you get this phone call from your boss saying it needs this report right now, and you're like, oh my God, I can't do this. In this situation, your back cramps up and you're like, oh my God, I don't feel good. So it all kinds of elevates and gets on top of each other. That's why it's really important to take care of your mental state. What I'm saying is that it's not always related to the pain you're feeling in your body. And does that sound familiar? Have you heard of that, or do you feel like that when you sometimes feel stressed? But most of us are like, well, we're stressed all day. What is he talking about? Now, management of stress, there are many ways. You know, like the most obvious is actually doing physical exercise, going to the gym, because that's what this whole cycle is about, of the energy you've got now from the stress to burn it off, to get it out of your system, and therefore moving. That could also be, if you know, it doesn't mean you put your gym kit on and go. If you're facing a stressful situation, the first thing you should be doing, if you can, get out of it. Stand up, go out, think of something else, get your mind off it, and then deal with everything else. That's not always possible, but if you can, try to do that. Now, any questions to the health, to the stress sort of? No? Good. Health professionals for lower back pain. Well, we've got two. We've got the medical side of it and the complementary side of it. Medical means that if you do feel any sort of discomfort, the first thing you should be doing is seek advice from your doctor. So you go to them, and because there's a reason for it. There are three sort of back pains which could be diagnosed. One is did I mention that at the beginning? No, I didn't, right? Was the back pain based on a pathology, which means you had an accident or something. Therefore, that causes your back pain. That's sort of like, I think, 12 or 15% or even lower of the people will have that as a cause of lower back pain. The biggest one is actually called non-specific lower back pain, which means you go to the doc and say, you know, I've got this, you know, back pain thingy, and then they examine you, and then they say, well, we don't know. We don't know where it's coming from. And you're like, oh, great. I just went to you to tell me what to do, and you don't know what it is. And that's 80% of back pain. People don't know why. That's actually really sad, but that is still, you should be seeking that advice first just because of how our system works. And then we've got another one which is called nerve-related back pain, meaning something like sciatica, where you've got a herniated disc pressing on a nerve, and therefore you might feel numbness in your leg or something like that. But that can happen if you've got back pain. Now, the other practitioners in the health bracket you can see are osteopaths, chiropractics, or physiotherapists. Does anyone know the difference between those? Has anyone seen any of those? Yeah. So an osteopath, what they do, they're kind of playing with, not playing, they're allowed to work with your muscle and joint in terms of massaging it and sort of getting it back into line, but it's more of a massage therapy. Whereas a chiropractic, sometimes if you ask these two, they would say, some say it's the same, some say, well, the old school chiropractic, what they do, they realign you, they readjust you. So you go to them and you think of these cracking motions, you know, they pull you and get you back aligned. That's what a chiropractic does. And physiotherapists, they're allowed to work even with some further conditions, like if you've got a respiratory disease or you need to recover from something, rehabilitation work, that's stuff a physiotherapist does and works very closely with the doctor. Complementary on the other side is someone like me, like a lower back pain specialist or exercise professional, meaning that if, for example, you've got this stress thing going on, you see, you know, I need to because it's not about going then to the gym and do the normal gym exercise like running or going into the weights area. There is sort of a specific protocol you should need to follow if you have lower back pain. What would happen is that you would do a proper examination in terms of what we did with this alignment. That was just like 2 minutes of it, but obviously when you come to see someone like me, we would examine you and take measurements and all of that stuff. Based on that, then create an exercise plan to ease the pain. Holistic professionals are people like, for example, hypnotherapists. They work with pain control because, like the stress, it's something it's in your mind, and if you're thinking you can't get over it, people like that can help you. Last one is references. So if you're interested in where did I get all this information from, that's where you can just check it out. Now, do you have any questions? Anything remaining you want to know? Definitely.
What's the advice on using laptops? Because obviously the ultimate position that you're talking about, you can't achieve with a laptop.
Exactly. And that's a very good point. The point is laptops are actually really bad to use. The only advice I can give you is that
I need a new computer.
it's not about saying bad. What I mean about it, the optimal position you cannot, like you just discovered, because the keyboard is attached to your screen, so you're so the best thing to do is to put it on your lap, the laptop, because then you're sort of you sit right and you kind of got the keyboard in the right position, rather having the keyboard on top of the desk, and then the screen very close to you. So the best thing to do then is to get an external keyboard, put the laptop away onto something elevated. You can take some books, put it on there, or a desk or something to get the monitor into the right position. That's sort of what you can do. I mean, I know, and nowadays it's all about, functionality. You take it all at home, work at home, and all that stuff, right? I'm going to step on anyone's toes. Okay, so I've got like a newsletter I send out every week, talking about fitness, some recipes and stuff. If you'd like to get that, as well as I wrote an ebook on lower back pain. I'll send that to you as well if you want that for free. And in the end, I've got some flyers of, what I do as well in the gym. If you want to take some with you, that's fine. And yeah, I think you want to grab some food as well, right? So thank you for your time.